Hey, I'm Spors, a postdoctoral researcher at the gamification group at Tampere University in Finland.
Hi, I'm Samuli Laato, likewise a postdoctoral researcher working at the gamification group.
In this video, we will introduce our paper, Longing to be the Mountain, a scoping review about nature-centric health-minded technologies. The paper was co-authored with our colleagues Oğuz Buruk and Juho Hamari. Humankind's relationship with nature is currently more than complicated. Ecological collapse is looming on the horizon, and we seem to get more and more disconnected from nature. However,
interacting with nature is a very enriching experience for many people. It can substantially contribute to human flourishing and well-being on emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual levels.
The aforementioned dimensions create an interesting design space for the integration of technology that researchers, designers, and developers in HCI and beyond have begun to explore. Nature, technology, health are not value-neutral concepts, but rich, complex constructs influenced by personal experiences as well as cultural, societal, and political dimensions.
We know that in the global world, attitudes, conceptions, and experiences of nature differ between geographical areas, cultures, and individuals. Nature can be very different for a hunter-gatherer and a farmer. An urban person may be disconnected from the perceptions of both. A lumberjack living in northern Finland likely sees nature wildly differently from an Australian biologist. The portrayal of nature has not only practical but also political weight. How can we define good or bad nature? Do we view us as dominators or managers of nature? Or maybe simply as being part of it?
We conducted a scoping review about health, nature, and technology to investigate the overlap and the potential intersections and configurations.
To carry out the scoping review, we followed the guidelines of SIGCHI and O'Malley. We had two key steps: first, literature search, and second, data extraction and analysis.
Given our review's focus, we picked keywords from all three domains: nature, technology, and health.
Words such as technology and nature have multiple meanings, producing a large quantity of false positives and false negatives. After carefully considering our keywords, we proceeded to carry out searches for relevant literature in Elsevier Scopus and the ACM Digital Library. Following the removal of duplicates, the initial search resulted in 3,012 items, which we screened for titles, abstracts, and keywords for relevance using specified inclusion and exclusion criteria. This process resulted in 29 studies to be included in the analysis. We first gathered general information about the papers and then extracted data in three thematic sections: technology traits, health and well-being specific traits, and nature-specific traits. The analysis process regarding the three traits followed loosely a narrative review. All authors collaboratively participated in sense-making through discussions about the gathered data. For the sake of brevity, we will discuss the 29 papers as a collective. Across the paper pool, we identified three trends: nature and health being portrayed as seemingly universal phenomena, risk of flattening health experiences with nature, and nature-centric technology as disconnected from everyday life. The first trend is nature and health being portrayed as seemingly universal phenomena. Only a few studies described in specific terms how they understood nature, and the same applied for the concept and experience of health. Some studies explicitly mentioned certain types of nature, such as boreal forests or Japanese forests, while others simply discussed nature in a very broad sense. Viewing nature or health experience as universally shared concepts can be problematic, since in reality, the same way as there is no universal user, there is no universal concept of nature, nor a universal health experience. We encourage researchers to be specific regarding how they view and understand health and nature. This is also critical for running meta-analysis and comparing the effects of nature-centric health technologies.
The second trend is risk of flattening health experiences with nature. Across the paper pool, we encountered a diverse mix of theories, concepts, and approaches to explain why interacting with nature might be good for people. However, this plurality did not mean that papers proposed an equally diverse set of interactions with nature. Instead, an overwhelming number of papers proposed just looking at nature to reduce stress. Encountering nature is a multisensory embodied experience that activates all of us, our senses, mind, body, and beyond. Similarly, Seeing nature as a space for human relaxation first means framing it as a resource to be used, instead of a space or system that we are part of and that we can relate to. We identified nature-centric technology as disconnected from everyday life as the third trend. Across the paper pool, nature was treated as a positive, beneficial space for well-being, but one that seemed to be disconnected from participants' everyday life and more mundane encounters with nature. As we seek to design for interdependent, sensitive contexts and spaces like nature and health, we need to examine our understanding of what gaps technology is supposed to bridge. Concretely, we need to ask ourselves if technology is even the right way to address them. Now, we will discuss potential design opportunities and ways that may reconfigure or enrich the design space of nature, health, and technology.
Given the identified trends, we see a need and great potential in establishing a shared baseline when discussing nature-centric technologies. We encourage researchers to describe the nature they design for in specific, concrete, and detailed ways. Doing so serves to counteract the narrative of nature as a homogeneous experience. Furthermore, it can enhance human-nature interaction by grounding the scientific work in specific, detailed contexts.
Finally, we wish to propose a potential research agenda for the future of nature-centric, health-aligned technologies. From people being nature users, we see great potential in shifting our perspective towards recognizing ourselves as an interdependent part of it. We elaborate on this agenda in our paper, but in a nutshell, we see opportunities to engage with all senses and multidimensional sense-making, to go beyond disconnected feel-good experiences, and also to resist human-centeredness as the assumed default.
Thank you for watching this video. Please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. We are more than happy to talk more about this research with you.